These are my attendees. I have 2 virtual attendees right there. All right. Imagine yourself in a classroom surrounded by 20 of your peers. Your teacher poses a question to the entire class. How many of you think math is your favorite subject? As you look around, you see all 20 students with their hands up while your hand is still by your side. Your favorite school subject is science, and you're not particularly fond of math. Would you raise your hand regardless? Obviously, the answer varies from individual to individual. Many people will just be like, why would I lie and raise my hand over such a silly, meaningless question? Others, however, would lie and raise their hand. This example alludes to a prevalent psychological concept known as conformity, which I will be discussing today. Throughout my high school experience, I have taken psychology classes where conformity has been heavily discussed. Additionally, I have conducted research and written many essays over the concept, which is why I would love to teach you all about it today and provide insight on its potential existence in your lives. Today I will discuss what conformity is, why we conform, and the potential positive and negative effects that it has on society. Let's start by defining conformity. According to John M. Levine in his Britannica article, conformity is a process whereby people change their beliefs, attitudes, actions, or perceptions to more closely match those held by groups to which they belong or want to belong, or by groups whose approval they desire. Conformity is commonly assumed to be a conscious decision. For example, if your work requires you to wear a suit, tie, and dress pants, you will conform to these rules and wear the specified attire in order to keep your job. This is you purposefully conforming to what is expected of you, which all of us can recognize. However, not all conformity is a conscious decision. Conformity is often an unconscious decision that you make without realizing. For example, teens often adjust how they look based on the latest clothing trends going around their school. Through the evaluation of their peers, students may subconsciously adjust how they look to fit the new social norm, such as color schemes, brands, or clothing types. American psychologist Solomon Asch conducted a very famous experiment known as the Asch line experiment to show the existence of unconscious conformity in a group setting. In this experiment, a group of individuals were given 3 lines of different lengths. They were also given another line of a certain length, and they were told to match that line with one of the 3 existing lines they were given. In each group of individuals, though, only one participant was actually being studied, whereas all the other participants were told to give purposefully incorrect answers. While the test itself was very easy and simple, as you can see, it is not hard to tell which lines are the same length, it was found that the participant conformed and agreed with the incorrect majority 1/3 of the time, despite knowing the correct answer. This experiment shows the existence of conformity even in the simplest of scenarios. Now that you have an understanding of what conformity is and how prevalent it is in our society, let's discuss why we conform. One reason we conform is normative social influence. According to Saul McLeod from Simply Psychology, normative social influence prompts individuals to conform to group norms to fit in, gain acceptance, and feel good. It is natural for humans to want to fit in and feel accepted. Very few people enjoy feeling like an outcast, and many find comfort in sticking with their pack. Additionally, this is a very common way to make friends. Having similar beliefs and actions to others will make it easier for a bond to form. In the book, Conformity, The Power of Social Influences, Cass R. Sunstein states, "We may have private qualms about a point of view or given course of action, but because we want to remain in the good graces of our social group, we suppress our dissent and eventually fall in line. This further proves that people simply want to fit in with their group." Another reason we conform is informational social influence. According to Saul McLeod from Simply Psychology, informational social influence leads people to conform, believing the group possesses competent and correct information, especially in ambiguous situations or tasks. Informational social influence shows us that a person conforms to a group because they have a desire to be right. When an individual does not have an expertise or knowledge in a certain area, it is common for them to turn to a group that may have more knowledge than they do. This theory depicts how an individual's desire to be right leads to conformity. Since people conform all the time for a variety of reasons, it is important to acknowledge the effects that it has on society. Conformity has both positive and negative effects, but let's discuss the positive effect it has first. Conformity encourages good behaviors such as following laws and proper etiquette. People conform to the laws set in place because they are seen as the accepted moral standard. Additionally, not following the laws could result in punishments such as jail time or fines. This creates a safer world for us to live in. Through observation and learning, most people act polite in public as well, which is a result of conforming. This creates a more pleasant environment for us to live in, hence a positive effect of conformity. Conformity also promotes teamwork and unity. As stated before, people tend to conform to the groups they are a part of. This creates harmony and helps prevent the clashing of multiple differing personalities when it comes to team efforts. Without conformity, it would be very hard for compromise to be made, as everyone would have their own thoughts and beliefs without the desire to fit in or be objectively correct. Conformity encourages compromise and unity, therefore enhancing society. Now let's discuss some negative effects. Conformity can suppress individuals, and one of these ways is through de-individuation. According to Karen M. Douglas from her Britannica article, de-individuation is a phenomenon in which people engage in seemingly impulsive, deviant, and sometimes violent acts in situations in which they believe they cannot be personally identified. When people assume they cannot be identified in the group they have conformed to, they are more likely to act deviously without the fear of being caught. Conformity creates this danger as people assume themselves as part of a group rather than an individual, giving them more power with less risk. Another negative effect of conformity is groupthink. According to Anna Schmidt in her Britannica article, groupthink is a mode of thinking in which individual members of small cohesive groups tend to accept a viewpoint or conclusion that represents a perceived group consensus, whether or not the group members believe it to be a valid, correct, or optimal opinion. Groupthink discourages creativity among individuals because it forces them to create a broad consensus for a group instead of a personalized creative idea. Conformity encourages this because people want to be part of a group rather than an outlying individual. These pros and cons are vital to consider as you navigate your life now that you can recognize conformity. In conclusion, conformity is the process of altering the way you think or act in order to align better with a certain group. Conformity is not only done consciously, but unconsciously as well. People conform for a variety of reasons, one of the most popular being simply to fit in with others around them. It is important to understand that conforming has both positive and negative impacts in society. A positive effect being conformity promotes a lawful society full of law-abiding citizens, which creates a safer world for you and me. On the negative side, conformity discourages creativity and promotes a more generalized group consensus. Now that you have an understanding of conformity, along with the prevalence that it has in society and the positive and negatives that come along with it, ask yourself, would you raise your hand in the classroom? That's all I got. My audience still here.